Hey guys, how's it going? It's Janie over here at Janie Sweets, and in this episode I'm coming at you with a tutorial on how I made this turkey cake. I made this cake for my family's Thanksgiving dinner last week and I decided to film the process, so if you want to learn how to make it, keep on watching. So to begin, I am starting out with my vanilla cake that I've baked in a half a sheet pan, and I've cut it in half. You could also use 2 quarter sheets and it would work the same. And I'm going to sandwich them together with some caramel buttercream in the middle. And caramel buttercream is just my easy meringue buttercream that I have mixed in with some caramel. And then I've also baked that same vanilla cake in a Wilton football shaped pan. If I can find the pan, I will link it for you guys in the description box below. And then I'm just going to start carving the turkey. Now to carve a turkey, it's really easy. It's just really a heart shape. So I'm just going very slowly, removing the parts that I do not want. Remember whenever you're carving, guys, that you can always take out more, but you can't add it back in. You could, but it's not really going to ever be the same because you kind of have to make like a cake pop mix to glue it in. So just go very slowly, take your time, there is no rush. Remove it a little bit at a time. So I'm using a picture of a turkey next to me and I'm referencing it every time I slice it. And when I say I was going slow, I really mean slow. Check out the real time of how I was carving it. Like, I didn't slow this down. This is how slow I was going when carving the turkey. So seriously guys, take your time because I've made the mistake of taking out too much cake before and it's just a pain. So anyway, just go ahead and continue carving. I've left most of the carving footage in there. I just kind of sped it up a little bit, so enjoy. And just a quick tip, guys, whenever you are carving something, it's always a good idea to clean your board consistently or constantly so that you kind of can see what you're working with. Because again, like, if you don't see the shape, it's very easy for you to think that you're done carving or that you need to carve more, when in reality that's not the shape you're going for. So clean off your board and then continue carving until you're happy with what it looks like. And then I am going to use that same caramel buttercream and crumb coat the entire cake so that I could pop it in the fridge to set before I do the final icing. And I'm using a small palette knife as opposed to a big one because I have a little bit more control over the small palette knife. So once that's done, pop it into the refrigerator or the freezer to set for a little bit. In the meantime, you can start working on your drumsticks. Now to make the drumsticks, I'm just using cake pop dough. If you don't know how to make cake pop dough, it's just some scrap cake, or you could bake a fresh cake and then add a little bit of icing. You don't want it to be soggy, just a little bit, and kind of like squeeze it in between your hands until it looks like Play-Doh. Almost. I mean, it's not really a Play-Doh consistency, but you see what I'm working with. It's like a mushy cake, if you will. So just go ahead and use that to kind of to shape the turkey leg. I'm just using it over a piece of parchment paper that I've just traced the drumsticks on. You could also just freehand it if you wanted to, but it's safer to use a template if you can. And then I am using the same cake pop dough. I'm going to make the wing. Now I made a mistake and made both the wings facing the same directions. I had to fix it later. You have to make them facing opposite directions because otherwise you'll be left with 2 of the same wing. So just go ahead and pop that into the freezer once you're done, and then work on your cake. You want to ice it completely smooth. I went looking for my acetate sheets because whenever you're icing something that's rounded, it's super easy to smooth it out. And of course I couldn't find it, because if you did not know this about me, I am extremely messy. I wish I was one of those OCD people who are neat freaks, but I'm not. Like, I just kind of throw things wherever it fits and hope that I can find it the next time I need it. So anyway, I couldn't find it, so I did the best that I could with the palette knife, but it's not really a big deal because you are going to put fondant over it, and it's a turkey. It's not really meant to be smooth anyway. So just transfer that onto your serving platter, and then at this point your drumsticks and your wings should be hardened in the freezer, and you can place them onto the cake. It should adhere with no problem, but if it's giving you an issue sticking, you can always just add a little skewer or a little piece of like a toothpick, and it should stick fine. Then go ahead and use that same buttercream to ice the drumsticks as well as the wings, and then make it as smooth as you can without really fussing over it. Now once you're done icing it completely, you're just going to put it into the refrigerator to set until you're ready to fondant the cake. So once I took it out of the fridge, I rolled out some white fondant, and I am going to use my hands, the palm of my hands and my fingers, to adhere it to the cake, and just stick it on, and don't worry too much about it because it's turkey skin and you're gonna mess it up in a second. So just using your X-Acto blade or a pizza wheel, cut off all the excess around, and then set that to the side. What I meant by you're going to mess it up, you're using here a piece of shelf liner, and you're just gonna squeeze, like press on it until it gives you like indentations. You can't really see it here on camera, but in person you could see like the little goosebumps, like the turkey skin. And then using a fondant tool, I am going to press on the indentations to kind of make sure that the wings are detached from the birds and it just doesn't look like a blob on a plate. Then to make the color, I am using Wilton ivory food color with some rum. If you don't want to use alcohol, you can always use rose water or lemon extract, and you're going to paint on the cake. Now painting on it is not tricky, but you want to make sure you're going fast because you don't want to leave any paint streak marks on it. Birds aren't painted, like they're roasted to look like this, right? So you want to make sure you're going fast and that the paint is not tacky when you're dragging your brush on the cake. So just take your time. Well, don't take your time. Don't listen to this. Don't take your time. Go faster and cover it completely. Then I am using some brown, using the same paintbrush, the same method, diluting it with some alcohol, and I'm just going to concentrate it on the edges, like where it would look darker, and then taking the brush and dragging that same color out. So you don't want to keep applying more color, you just kind of want to use what you have and then drag it out, if that makes sense. So see, I've made a little bit of little marks on it, and then I drag that out. I hope it's making sense what I'm trying to explain. So put a little bit and drag it out. Now, 2 years ago I made a turkey cake, and I just continued using food coloring with a paintbrush to give it the look that I wanted. But this year I got an airbrush machine, so I'm kind of using it with every single cake that I have the chance to. So it took me 2 seconds to just kind of spray it with just some brown and make it more roasted, right? But you can definitely use just the food coloring and it will look just fine, because that's what I did again 2 years ago. So once I am happy with how dark it looked, I'm going to pop that into the refrigerator and grab some white gum paste. Make sure it's gum paste and not fondant because you want it to dry. And I'm going to pass it through a pasta machine because I want it to be super thin. I think it was on setting 5 here. And then I am going to cut out some pieces to make the lettuce. Now to make the lettuce, all I did is just kind of round it off the top and squeeze the bottom. And that's it. This is all I did. If you want it to look a little bit more realistic, you can also vein it like using a petal veiner, but for my purposes, that's all I wanted it to look like, so that was fine. I'm then going to spray paint it with some green food coloring or airbrush food coloring, and then hit it with some brown just in the crevices to give it more depth. You don't want to go crazy with the brown, seriously. Like if lettuce is brown, it's rotten, so you want it to just kind of give it a little bit of contrast but not make it brown. So barely pull on the trigger and just kind of give it more depth. And then I am going to hit it again with more of the green, concentrating on the edges, making it more opaque. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of yellow mixed with the green just at the ends. I hope this is making sense. This is what the final lettuce looked like. I don't want it to dry up completely, but I still want it to dry for maybe about like 10 minutes, because if it's completely dried, it's going to be rock hard and you won't be able to mold it around the cake. And I want to kind of squeeze it into place, right? So just kind of shove it in there wherever you see fit, and then yeah, just keep going. Just keep adding it around your cake. You can layer it up on itself. It kind of looks, you know, even better. And then once you're done with that, you can start adding in your cherries. Now you can do this with just gum paste, red gum paste or red fondant that you've rolled into little balls, but I had these 6-lets laying around. They weren't running around, they were laying around in my kitchen, and it's just kind of like M&M type of candies. And I'm just going to use the the piping gel and just stick it on there. So there you go, you guys. This is the final cake. My family absolutely loved it, and I hope you did too. I hope this tutorial was very informative, and if you did like it, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any ideas for videos. I am working on the ones that you guys have requested. It's just taking me a little bit more time. I do have a full-time job, and I'm just trying to make you guys' request a priority. But check out my last video if you'd like by clicking on this annotation right over there. You can find me on Instagram as well as on Facebook. All of my socials are at Janie Sweets. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so that you do not miss any of my future videos. So that is it, you guys, for this week's tutorial. Love you. I'll talk to you next time.